Welcome back to our alphabet series. I'm Melody. Welcome to my channel, Making Melody Crafts. Today we're going to be working with some puzzle pieces. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button and hit that thumbs up button if you like this video. That way you'll hopefully be notified of any content that I have coming up. And let's get started. Alright, we're down at the craft table and I'm going to show you 4 things that I do with puzzle pieces. The first one is earrings. The next one is decoupage. Then the third one is gluing them together using some alcohol markers, and then we can also put some other embellishments on them. Once we're started, I'm going to zoom right into this spot here so that you can see really well, and this washi tape will keep me in frame. At least that's the plan. Alright, so the fourth one is gesso and stamping. So let's zoom in to this little spot so that you can see everything. The first thing that we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and punch a hole in them. If you go too far out on the edge here, I've done that before, it typically doesn't work. It kind of pulls through. So I'm just going to pick a spot that looks good to me where I think that earring would hang nicely. And then I'm going to try to mimic that on the other side. But first, let's get a hole in this one because that'll make the second one easier to do. So I'm on the 1/8 and I'm using my Crocodile Big Bite. This is a wonderful tool and I have a video on this and how to use it. I'll link that here. So now that's kind of held in place, and then I'm just going to squeeze, and it goes right through there like a hot knife through butter. This tool is wonderful. It is such a beautiful day here. The sun is shining. It's about dinner time, and I don't know what I'm doing for dinner tonight. These things happen. I actually do have some leftovers. We might have that. Alright, so now that one is done too. And then one thing that I do with it is emboss on here. So I'll show you how I do that and then we'll just pop right over to the ones that are already done. So this is super old embossing ink pad, but it works just fine. And I'm going to really get that into the embossing ink well. And then I need my scrap paper, so let's grab that. Oh boy, now I can't see the spot that keeps me in frame. What are we going to do? Well, let's hope it all works out. Let's hope for the best. Now, if you don't really want the design to stay there, you could also use an embossing powder that's, you know, a different color. Like if you don't like the color that you have on the puzzle piece, if you want something different, then just use a different, use a different color of embossing powder. Now that's good. I'm just tapping some of that off. So pulling open my tweezers, kind of like you would a bobby pin, and then just let go. Tapping that off a little bit, and I'm going to move that over. And then I'm just going to get this embossing powder right back in the jar, so I'll show you how to do that. So whatever piece of paper that you were using, just kind of make a fold in there. You can even do that beforehand. And it takes such a tiny amount of this, that's why this embossing powder lasts so long. So now I'm going to heat up my heat tool, and then we're going to go ahead and melt that. Alright, I ran my heat tool for about 30 seconds. That heats it up, and this reaches 650 degrees, so if you use it, please use some caution. And I'm going to do this one first. When you see it get shiny, that means it's working. Okay, that one's done. Let's grab the next one. I'm going to push those out of the way because I've got some here that are already done and that are dry. And they're just adorable. I like these so much. And this is from a different puzzle. I'm working with 3 different puzzles. One is actually, if you're interested, one is actually this Smithsonian interlocking jigsaw puzzle, and it says horticulture. I've had that for many, many years. That is from the 90s. Oh, from the 80s, 1989. And then this one was a clock face puzzle, so I might have some of those here that we're working with as well. And then the other one is Spring Flowers. I don't know who makes this. It's 500 pieces and the number is 40225-5. So if you search that, you'll probably come up with whatever that is. And you can get a lot of these at a Goodwill, so it doesn't have to be expensive doing this. Alright, so I grabbed my jewelry findings. Alright, so there we've got that one, and then I'm going to go ahead and do this one and come right back and show you. So here's the jewelry findings already on there with those 2 puzzle pieces. So that's our first one. Now I want to show you the decoupage one. So I have an old French English dictionary that I like to use in some of my paper crafts. And then I just go ahead and get a layer of Mod Podge on there, swipe it on, then put on the paper, swipe the Mod Podge on again. And I will tell you this, it's a little bit easier to do it how I'm going to show you first. So these are the ones that I've already done. I'm going to bring this a little closer. My dog is whining, don't mind him. So I also went ahead and colored these with some permanent brown ink. It's actually a sepia color. With the decoupage, the first thing that I recommend is just lay the puzzle piece down that you want to use and trace around it. Now I'm going to cut that out. And when I'm cutting out something little like this, I call it tiny trimmings. I know a lot of people call it fussy cutting, but I just prefer the phrase tiny trimmings. And that is my own phrase. I just think it better describes what I'm doing because I'm trimming tiny things. You can do this and not cut it out ahead of time, which is actually how I did all of the ones that I did, but you know what? Then after I had decoupaged, then I had to cut that off once it dried, and then I had to use an X-Acto knife. Oh my gosh, it just became much harder than it needed to be. So I definitely recommend just tracing it and then cutting it out. You can leave it a little large if you want to, and then you just take an emery board once it dries, and then just kind of push at the edges, and that'll get off all of the little extra pieces of paper, and I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Now that we have that, I'm just going to show you this really quick. I have a whole video on glues, and I'll link that video here, but you just take your Mod Podge, and I have a brush that I use exclusively for this, my fancy wipe divider piece of plastic. That makes it easy because it won't stick to that. So I've got a little bit of Mod Podge. And once you have it where you want it, then just go ahead and try to start from the center and go out. But you know, if there's a couple wrinkles, I don't know, I think it kind of adds to it sometimes. It just gives it a nice texture. And if you really don't want those, then just be super careful going from the center out. The thinner your paper is, the more likely you're going to have wrinkles. So that's how I do that. And then when it dries clear like this. So it's matte, so it's not too shiny. And then once I get all these pieces done with the Mod Podge and it's dry, then I took a marker and a dauber and I just went around there with some permanent ink. And this is the ink that I used. It's the Ranger Archival. And when you hear archival, just think permanent because that's what it is. So you can use it like you would any permanent ink. And then you could use these as embellishments on a card. You can also do like what I did with this one. So it's just one word that I have on there. And then you can still see the original pattern and colors of that puzzle piece kind of peeking out from the back. All right, now for this example, we're going to use some alcohol markers. I've got some Copics and some Sharpies. You could use either one. Any permanent marker is typically an alcohol marker. So Copics and Sharpies are both alcohol markers. It's just that Copics last longer and they're refillable. So I'm going to go ahead and just start to put down some color on here. Nothing, you know, complicated, nothing fancy. I'm just going to get that color down. And then I wouldn't really recommend doing this with the Copic because even though the nibs do last a lot longer, it's still not something that I would want to wear out or damage, but you get the idea. Just go all the way around like that. If you want to make the sides blue as well, or you could have them brown, whatever you like. And now the top layer is going to be the smallest one. And now I just wanted to show you that Mod Podge is all dry from that one that we did with the decoupage. And then what I do with this is just grab an emery board and then just pull downward, but you don't really need a lot of pressure. And that's just going to take off the little pieces on the edge. And now I'm just going to go ahead and glue these down. And then we're going to put an embellishment on the top. Okay, this one's all glued down. Honestly, I really do recommend using your hot glue gun if you have it, but that Scotch Create glue stick is permanent and it has never done me wrong, so I really like that. So that's all cool, and now I'm going to go ahead and switch to the one I already have done because it's glued on really well and nothing is moving. That glue is amazing. I don't know what it is about it, but it's incredible. I love that glue so much. And now I want to put something else on the top because I was like, it needs something else. I really wanted something metallic that was like, I don't know, like a little metallic letter or something, but I didn't have any of that. So I was like, all right, well, I do have tons and tons of little metal bits and metal jewelry, so that's what I'm going to use. And we're going to get that glued on, and this time we are going to use a hot glue gun. Okay, so we've got our little puzzle piece here with a little bit of splatter paint on there. I think that just helps, just to give it something interesting in the background. So I'm going to put the hot glue right here and then put the piece right on top of that. Alright, so now that piece is on. Now I'm going to go ahead and get the next one on. And this is very hot, so I'm just going to kind of drop it on. And then as I do this last piece, I'm going to show you how to not have all of those strings of glue. I've got some right now because I didn't do what I know how to do. When you go ahead and, pull the trigger so that the glue will advance, whenever you're done, whenever you have how much glue you want, lift away just a little and then do several small circles. And then that'll take care of those strings and hopefully you won't have an issue with that. All right, there we go. Oh my gosh, isn't that adorable? Look how cute that came out. All right, so that was our third way. Now for the last one. I just used some gesso and painted on there. And you really don't need very much when you use this. A little bit goes a long way. A lot of the puzzle pieces that you get, they kind of have that glossy surface, right? Just grab an emery board and rough that up a little bit. Be careful not to blow any of that dust away, just in case it's, you know, not a good idea to have that in the air. And then that'll help the gesso to stay better. That'll just kind of help it to stick to the puzzle piece. Honestly, you know, gesso's a chalk paint technically, but it would probably stick even if you didn't do that, but I just like doing that. A little extra assurance that it's not going to go anywhere. Okay, so that's what it looks like with one layer of gesso. I'm gonna put that aside, and again, that would dry in about 15 minutes, but we're just gonna move right along and I'll show you how I do the next part. All right, so those pieces are drying, and then I'm gonna show you how I did these in just a little bit. All right, this one is pretty much dry already, so I'll go ahead and show you how I did this. So I just grabbed one of my stamps, and this is from the stamp set Ink-a-Dink-a-Doo, and it's dot flourishes. I love to call these swirly doodads. I just think they're so pretty. I love to use them on a lot of cards. But if you didn't want to, you really don't even have to use the acrylic block. You could just hold onto your stamp and then just start pressing down and just seeing what kind of patterns you get. Such a fun way to get some really cute designs. And you could still turn these into earrings if you wanted to. I think with this one, I would probably have done another coat of the Mod Podge just to make that background a little more muted. So I really love that. And again, you could do almost anything with it. You could even turn it into a little pin. Just put a little pin on the back. So the rest of what I want to do with these is I just want to kind of use some things that I have to embellish it and just see what I like. With this kind of stuff, I just think you have to try it. There's nothing like kind of putting that on the piece that you're making and seeing if you like it. I've got a middle bird. I don't really like that though. That is really cute. A little arrow. I like that little polka dot paper on that arrow, so I'm gonna glue that down. Before I do, I'm gonna grab some of my archival ink again in this sepia color and just make this piece of chipboard kind of match the background just a little bit more. You can hear my dog. He's just begging for food, but I promise you he has eaten. He's quite well fed. All right, oh my gosh, is that not the cutest thing? Let's go ahead and do this while we're at it. All right, so now let's glue that down. Does anybody else like polka dots? I think they're just so adorable. And I am just going to live life on the edge, and I'm using that Scotch Create glue stick to glue down a chipboard. It's worked for me before, so I will let you know if it worked. The dry time is going to be more than hot glue, but I think it'll be fine because I had already unplugged my hot glue gun. And I like this on here. I need to turn it around just for a minute to see if that's how I want that on there. And on this puzzle piece, I used this stamp. It's kind of like a, you know, like arrows or a little chevron print. You know, last year at the beginning of the whole quarantine, I have a vintage typewriter. I pulled that out and I just started, you know, typing out some different words and phrases. So if you don't have, you know, these little words or phrases that you can purchase, and, you know, there's so many adorable little sets of these, right? You can just type up your own, and they can be your own sayings, whatever you like. And then you could just cut that out, put it on a piece of cardstock, glue it on, cut it out, and it will be awesome, I'm sure. So there's that one. I hope that's not upside down to you. And that says, remember. And then do I want to use that car? It's so cute, but I think I'm going to pass on it for now. I love these buttons, so I might want to do something with those. Oh my word, is that cute? Do you like that? That is adorable. Okay, I took a break for a little bit and ate some dinner because I was just kind of stuck and couldn't figure out what I wanted to do with this. You know, sometimes that happens and I just kind of need to like take a break and come back and look at it, you know, just like fresh. So I think I know what I want with this, and I grabbed this Dylusions ink pad. It's 4 different ink pads in one, and I'm using this one, the bubblegum pink. So I've got my dauber, and I just want to add some of this to it because of what I'm going to do next. Okay, I like how that looks, and now here's what we're gonna do. So check that out. Really cute, right? So with a pink and a green button, I just love how it looks. All right, let's grab that hot glue gun and get that glued down. Super hot. And then this button, I actually found this purse at the Goodwill, and it had all these little beads on it. So, well, the really they're not beads. What are they? Well, they're buttons, you know. But they're so cute, and I just pulled them all off. If any of you know of this purse, I hope that doesn't bother you, but I was like, what a cool use for all of those. I can use all of that. So, oh my gosh, that is just so adorable. You see the green? There is some glare from my ring light. There you go. Now you can see it. That's all glued on. All right, so here's all of the different pieces that we did. The puzzle piece earrings, changing puzzle pieces into earrings, and then decoupaging some with different pages out of a book. You wouldn't have to put a layer of Mod Podge over there. You could just glue it down, but it really does help because it kind of seals that paper in there. Using our alcohol markers and just kind of coloring the puzzle pieces and then putting metallic things on there. And then the other one that I had done, I wanted you to see, I went ahead and added a little piece of a little gear on there as well. All of these teeny tiny little things, I just enjoy it so much. It's almost like miniatures again. And I do have a video about miniatures. If you're interested in that, I'll link it here. And then all of the little puzzle pieces that we went ahead and put the gesso on and then just put some different things on. That is a blast too. I think those are the ones that I'd probably most likely use on a card because, you know, they're a little bit flatter. If you're going to mail anything in the mail like that and it's a card, I would just say put on the envelope hand cancel, please hand cancel, something like that. If you're in the US, that typically works, and that just means that it probably isn't going to go through the rollers. I mean, no guarantees, but I have heard and I've been told by people that work at the post office that yes, that does work. So you just write that at the bottom. Otherwise, just put it in a padded mailer. So this is how this one came out, right? And I was totally not sure if the Scotch Crate glue stick, although it's wonderful, if it was really going to hold and if I should have used hot glue, but oh my gosh, it's stuck on there and it is not moving. So I'm pretty excited about that. All right, and then the other ink that I wanted to show you. So if you didn't have that Ranger Archival, you can use a Stays On ink. This is a solvent ink. This is the only one that I have, and I have it in the Timber Brown. There are warnings on the back of this product, so if you do use it, obviously read those warnings. And this product also says not for use by children. This all has been so much fun, and if you've had some fun or learned something, please subscribe, and I'll catch you later.